Good morning, faithful. 2 shows in the morning from me this week. This is not normal. This is the first time that this gentleman right next to me and I are going live. There is so much to talk about. There's unanswered questions. The 49ers have had this winning streak going on for quite some time in the regular season, but there's still some questions that I think are unanswered. So we're going to get to those, plus a few more topics, and we're going to do it all next. All right, welcome back to Last Second Sports, where we are giving you our take down to the last second. And as you see, I got my guy, Coach, with me for the first time. He's muted, he's dancing, he's doing the whole thing. He's never been here before, man. Like, we talk
so
daily.
Lit.
We talk daily, this
good.
guy and I.
It feels good.
How you doing,
What's
Coach?
good, Jess?
Oh, man. I already know. Listen, I already know how you're doing. We already talked today. We already got the walk and talk in. But
Always.
We're making it live here on Last Second Sports, man. I'm so happy to be doing this with you.
Hey, man, it feels good to finally be on the stream, for us to be together. You know what I'm saying? We have been friends for the entire season. We've been going back and forth the entire season. We got a whole relationship that I don't even think the fans even know about. So let's start it off. Let's kick it off, man. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. We already got a super chat. Talking Head comes in and says, not you, J-Nay, but generally, can we stop with the Purdy mythology already, Niner fans? But this, he's Neo of the Matrix talk is getting to be a bit too much. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this one, because I definitely think that there's conversations that are wild. And I think some of those conversations and getting caught up in some of those conversations, for me anyways, has put me in a category where he's a hater. You know, he's not agreeing with this narrative that it's like, other than Mahomes, I'm taking Brock Purdy in this offense. And it's like, well, hold on a second. Like, we don't have to go that far with it, but we can say that he's really good and there's a lot of things he does well. And so the moment that you just like don't go that far with the narrative, everything else you say after that is like, la, 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 I'm not even listening. I don't care if you credit him. You don't agree. You're a hater. So I understand what you're saying, Talking Head. I've been there. All I can do is just continue to be consistent, continue to say what he does well, what he's not doing well, be real with my assessment in the moment. And it really is going to be a week-to-week assessment with Brock, because it's so early in his career. It's not like Patrick Mahomes, who's established, or let's look at some other good quarterbacks that we know are great in this league. Josh Allen. Josh Allen's another one. Joe Burrow. When they struggle for a couple weeks, people do this, and it's crazy to me. But when they struggle for a couple weeks, nobody should be like, oh, man, like, have they fallen off? No, we know that they're really good. They're just having a couple off weeks. Not a big deal. But Brock Purdy's so young in his career, and it's not just Brock. There's so many players that I could give this tag to and say, hey, they're kind of on this week-to-week thing. We kind of know what they are. We know where they're trending, and it's great, but we don't know for sure. So let's just give it time. Let's just be patient. That's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I mean, I see it in a different. I do understand like the back and forth in a sense, coming from the standpoint of there are some conversations about Brock that need to just stop, right? The Brock not being a starter, that needs to stop.
We're past that. We're past that at this point, right? Like
the Brock not being, like we should be way past that.
Yeah.
Brock not being in the middle of the pack of quarterbacks in the league, that's his floor. You have to give that. You have to. You're not an honest broker, in my opinion, if you automatically start Brock in the bottom tier of quarterbacks solely because he's young, a rookie, and hasn't played enough games that you like. Come on, man. Football ain't rocket science. We seen enough to know that he's at least middle of the pack, right, and ascending, at least, because of what he's showing this early in his career. So, yes, there are some narratives out there that are dog whistle arguments that want to lean towards they don't like the kid, they don't think he's athletic enough. Shoot, there may even be some more Trey guys out there that are just like not over the Trey situation and don't necessarily want to look at what football is giving you on the field. So, yes, there are people who are going to artfully try to bring up their own narratives, but when they just don't make sense on their face, it's easy for you to kind of see where people's narratives are coming from, right?
Yeah, and I think that goes both ways, though. You know what I mean? I think, and this is, it's funny because I put this little chart out in the off season. It was like May or June or something like that. And the chart went something like this. Brock Purdy has killed it so far. He's playing really good. I'm excited to see what his future is. If that's the conversation, the answer to that conversation is, I agree. Let's see what he continues to do. I'm rooting for him. That's it. End of conversation. But then there's a whole nother part of the conversation that's like, okay, there's that. And then it's like, yeah, I agree. Yeah, but now he's top 5 in the league. Now he's the next Joe Montana. Now, I mean, Tom Brady and Drew Brees did it. Why? Okay, let's calm down. We don't have to go way over the top in our praise to praise him. We can praise him without bending the knee to him being a top 5 quarterback of all time after 10 games. Can we do that?
But,
is that okay?
Okay, that's okay, but we could be a slave to optics too. We're on a really good team, right? He's operating at a really high clip on a good team that has a lot of eyes on it. So yes, you're gonna get some people that are gonna take it to the moon, right? And they're gonna be very tribal about it, and you're not even gonna be able to have a real sobering conversation about what you think about Brock Purdy versus what you're seeing now, right? There's gonna be people that are going to be hard to talk to who have that narrative. But I just wanted to bring up the fact that there are dishonest brokers who bring up narratives about Brock that aren't necessarily true either. You know what I'm saying? Like, I felt the same way about Trey. I feel the same way. Sometimes we do it in jest to Sam. But Sam's been here for 5 years, so he deserves it. But outside of that...
listen, but okay. So... I guess my point is that it's not just unique to Brock Purdy. Obviously, this is a 49er channel. We're talking Brock Purdy. But let's remove Brock Purdy from the conversation. I'll give you another quarterback that you and I have had the conversation about, who played at really an MVP level last year, even went to a Super Bowl and arguably outplayed on the biggest stage Patrick Mahomes, or went blow for blow with him, Jalen Hurts. And even going into this year, both you and I have said the same thing. Hey, it was fantastic. I'm not saying he's going to turn into a pumpkin, but I do got to see it for another year before I'm fully in on this Jalen Hurts thing, right?
Jalen Hurts he's not like I don't think that Jalen Hurts is far from a finish. He's far from a finished product.
I agree.
To be honest with you, if you're just charting his progress, it has been up and down. It's not been this continuous track of ascension, right? He has seen moments along where he struggled, and you said, I mean, really, last year they were talking about Jalen Hurts in the sense that it was all fixed, right? He went and saw his quarterback coach, came back, did well, and he was all but fixed and ready to go. But we've seen anemic games. We've seen him, burping the baby in the pocket, holding onto the ball, being second guessing himself. We've actually seen AJ Brown, receivers frustrated with him that they're not getting the balls, or they're not getting the type of balls that they need. Pause. But what I'm saying is that this is a quarterback driven league, right? So even the most pragmatic observers, right, they still are looking with like hopeful eyes, like, because we all want that next guy, right? We all want the next Mahomes. Like, Mahomes is good, but what would be better than one Mahomes? Two, right? We always are looking for the next guy. And really, Brock fits a mold of quarterback that predates him, right? That's why Brock gets the Drew Brees comparisons. I don't think he's Drew Brees at all, but he gets the Drew Brees comparisons because of how he connects with the fans, how he's being marketed, how he's being pushed. Brock isn't
Yeah.
being pushed as some 6'5", 230-pound guy with a howitzer of an arm. Nah, he's being pushed as like the story. Like, why Brock's story works in the media world is that it takes the league down a notch. It almost is like Brock is almost like the Steph Curry of the NFL. He's showing everybody that, man, even you can play. You can get out here. All my 6 foot nothing, 150, 250 pound guys, 20, right? Pound guys. You can get out here and you don't have to look like Peyton Manning. You don't got to look like Trevor Lawrence or Justin Herbert or Joe Burrow to get out here and make it and put the league on its ear. Like, you don't have to. And I feel like Brock's story is not only a good story for everybody, but I mean, you kind of notice the people that are defending Brock on this hyperbolic type trajectory. They're the guys that look like Brock. Like, they're like, he's the best. He's Peyton Manning. Like, look at his ball. It's just like, bro, relax, bro. Take it down a notch, right? But saying, can we see what Brock is, to people who feel that way about Brock is almost like a slight to say, let's wait until he finally fails, right? It's not, they don't hear, when you say, let's wait to see what Brock is, they don't hear, oh, well, it's a competitive league. You know, Brock needs to be able to show progression. We know he has some weaknesses that we want him to get stronger at. We want him to actually go through the whole league where they have a beat on him and see how he performs. We want to see him in bad games. We want to see him when everything is leaning on him. We want to see him without Debo, without Christian, right? That's how you want to assess him. But they don't hear any of that. What they hear is, you're not giving instant validation now, so you're waiting to take it away. You're waiting for a hole to show or a chink in the armor. And that's, it's insecure. It's a little hinky and cagey, but that's just sports. People are going to defend their guy. You know what I mean? So you just kind of got to know who you're talking to.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Well, it's funny because we just went 12 minutes on something that wasn't even a topic based off a super chat to start the show. So let's get into the actual topics here. Golly. All right. Fair or foul? The 49ers trash talk of Danny Dimes after the Giants game. Now, I'll set this up for those who may not have heard, but Charvarius Ward, Dre Greenlaw, those players for sure were quoted in saying things about Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes, that he's paid too much. What are they doing? I expect more from a player like that. This is a joke to the league, that type of stuff. Then there were players that weren't, their names weren't given, but they were saying some disparaging things about Daniel Jones after the game. Trash talking is certainly fair, but do you think trash talking through the media after a game at this level where you're pocket watching another player in the league, do you think that's fair or do you think that's foul?
I think it's bad for the game.
Okay.
It's bad for the game. You don't talk about what another player is getting because you never know when you're going to be in that seat trying to get your money. That's important. Yeah. Okay. So that's bad for the game to talk about what a guy's getting paid openly. 2, it's just bad. It ain't no home training. You don't ever talk about, you don't even got to be a professional athlete. Just being a professional in anything you do. You don't talk about somebody else's money. That's 2. 3, settling a score and grandstanding are 2 different things, right? So settling a score is somebody gave you bulletin board material. They were talking tough and you settled the score by beating that ass. And now it's my turn to get on the mic and talk the way you was talking. That's fair, right? Mm-hmm. You called me out. So you called me out in public. I'm gonna rectify your ass in public, right? That can be a thing. But winning a game and not dismantling a team, but winning, but then going on camera and offering up your commentary about what you thought about another professional in a disparaging way. The only thing, in my opinion, that would warrant that is if something happened on the field and it just kind of bled over to the mics, and people were just around for what was going on in the game, and then it just bled over, almost kind of like a Michael Crabtree, Richard Sherman situation. But it's Bush League. It's below standard, and really, the people who know about class, they kind of like mark that in their little notebook. It's like duly noted. This is what you guys like to do after a win, mind you, right? I could see if like there was like my guy over there in Denver, I forgot his name. They sat down, talked to a lineman in Denver after a loss, and they asked him how he felt. He said, "I'm sick of this shit. I'm sick. We're losing, right?" And like that was a real moment, right? They lost. You put a mic in front of a guy's face after getting beat down for 60 minutes, he's gonna give you a real comment. But for you to offer up that type of like sophomoric, jovial, like petty commentary, it's kind of like, all right, because it's gonna be some people looking at this like, oh, so this how they like to get down, right? There was some people who settled the score with us last year. The Chiefs did that. When they settled the score with us last year, we came up there talking tough, like this was supposed to be a redemption situation. And a couple of their players were very open about like, man, we whooped that ass. And they still the same Niners. They keep talking about that damn game from 2 years ago. We done moved on, and we still beating that ass. So there's two sides of it. I think it was Bush League, to be honest, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't mind. I love the trash talk.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm all for trash talk. But I think when you start talking about what a player makes and that he's overpaid, I think you're stepping over dollars to pick up pennies when you do that. You can talk about him as a player and how, I thought Daniel Jones was supposed to come in and throw the deep ball, and all he did was, throw underneath. It was clear he was scared, or we were in his mind, or,
weird.
Whatever you want to say. All that is fair. You can say whatever you want. But the moment you say he's overpaid, really what you're doing is you're taking money from yourself in the long run.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, all of the players are wanting more money and think they deserve more money. And I agree. And so when it comes time to get paid, and it comes to negotiations, and you got a GM on the other side of the table saying, well, yeah, I mean, I think if we give you the money that you're asking for, you'd be overpaid. You don't like it when it happens to you in negotiations. So why are you out here through the media talking about another player's money and they're making too much? I'm not a fan of that. I think that is a bit too far for me personally.
Yeah, it is, man. It's just not it's not on par with being a professional, quite frankly. And you guys, when we sit here and talk about being a leader, all right, so we talk about football in the guise of like being fans, but there is a younger entire echelon to this whole deal. You got a son, you know what I'm saying, that idolizes Lamar, right? And in my opinion, it's not necessarily, it's a bad look for like, fans that see this. It's a good look for all of like the nosebleed guys, but really who this hits is young football players. That's who this hits. Young athletes, young guys that are either at their D1 school or at their D2 school or in high school. And these young guys, what do? Because I did it. I was a jock. I didn't even have YouTube back in the day, but I consumed anything that I could. I latched on to literally every quote, every piece of stitch of video that I could find, and I idolized these guys. And when that type of stuff happens, hold on, Hannibal, no, go. Go.
Yeah, Hannibal.
God, man, he's been making his rounds. He would not leave me alone. So, but when you look at back in those times, man, like, my ethos on how I approached the game came from LeVar Arrington and Sean Taylor, and you know what I'm saying, and Navarro Bowman and Pat Willis, you know what I'm saying, and the Cowboy and Supolo, and it just like it's for me. I feel like it's a bad tribe moment from a mentor perspective. It's like, bro, you got young cats watching you, man. And then when we come up here and we wonder why the next kid don't want to come to practice, the next kid that we draft comes up here wearing wearing his salary on his neck. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why stuff like this. You guys aren't paying attention to who's paying attention to you. You know what I'm saying? And those are the issues that kind of just hit me. It's just like, bro, be a mentor, man. You can't be young all of your life.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really care about the mentor or whatever. It's the whole Charles Barkley thing. Like, I'm not in this to be the parent or a mentor. I don't care about that. I just think from a fraternity side of things, the player side of things, because that's what it is. Players union exists for a reason. It's to get these guys paid the most amount of money. It's to represent them when it comes to negotiations. And because of that, it's a brotherhood. It's something you hear fighters talk about all the time. Like, yeah, we talk a lot of crap leading up to the fight, but why do you always hug after the fight? Like 99.9% of the time, no matter what was said leading up to a fight, fighters embrace afterwards. And why? Because they respect each other. They know how hard it is to get up and train every day and then make that walk.
To do this.
Yeah, to make that walk and to do everything it took to get into that ring, win, lose, or draw. It took a lot of courage to do that. That's exactly what's happening Sunday in and Sunday out. They're a big fraternity. So I just feel like there are some things that you keep within the fraternity, and there are some things that you can let out. You can talk trash, you can do all that, but the money side of things and pocket watching, I think that's taken a step outside of the fraternity. For what? That's just my personal opinion. Anyways, good topic. Frank Tom Ocean says, thank you both for making time to make this collab happen. Absolutely. He says, what free agents next year do you think we lose? Huff, Demo, BA? Ooh, that's a really, really good question. Well,
you know who's the most likely.
Demo out of those would be the one that would probably be gone. Right. I don't think they would let BA or Huff walk.
We don't let Huff or BA walk. If anybody, and if Demo did walk, it would just kind of be business as usual, man. He's
like the next Mosley, right?
He's the next Mosley. Yeah. He's the next DJ Jones. I mean, he might price us out because he's noticeably better than he was last year. Noticeably better.
Yeah, he most certainly is. I mean, he's going to be like Jennings. Jennings is likely gone, because they've already got the guy waiting in the wings. Ronnie. Who knows what they think of some of the Darrell Luter Jr. Maybe he's the guy waiting in the wings. They have a ton of confidence, and it'll be a topic next. I can already see it next offseason. Oh, we let Demo go to Miami. They only paid him $6 million. What are we doing? We need a corner. And then it's like Luter comes in and is a stud. And we're like, okay, we were wrong.
Yeah.
I already see it. I can already see it.
I'm young enough to remember us being completely shell shocked on losing E-Man. It was just like, what are we gonna do now that we lost E-Man? And looking and literally saying that with Demo on the roster, like, man, because we know Demo can't do it, and blah 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 blah. And like, here we are. I think those are that's what they make the money for. They develop these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in fear of not getting to the main topic of the show, we'll get to it now, and then we can backtrack and go through some of these other ones. Because if we get to talking,
they're giving us topics for us.
They're going to go exactly. Okay. There's the 49ers are 3-0. Really, okay. I mean, it couldn't have started any better, and they've picked up right where they left off last year. This team is really, really good. So I want to bring these up and be very clear. This is not a way to find what's wrong with this team. This is just, hey, I don't know yet. I got to see it. And some of these questions, realistically, we may not know it all because they might not be in a situation where we have to see it this year. This is how good the team is. But there is some unanswered questions that I have. So, and if there's any more that you want to throw in, you can. So, number one, they haven't played an elite receiver yet, in my opinion. Pittsburgh Steelers, they have, some good players over there, but there's nobody elite. There's some up-and-coming players. Pickens, I think, is really, really good, but
Just
or
Kenny
or
can't get
or
him the
on his way
ball.
to being good,
George
but
is
he's not.
nice.
Yeah, but he's not in that upper echelon. Puka Nacua did a great job, but he's still a rookie. And then last week, the Giants don't have anything. The 49ers are yet to play an elite receiver, and some teams that they're going to play have multiple elite receivers. So we haven't truly seen, in my opinion, this secondary be fully tested yet. You agree or disagree with that?
I agree. I feel like they got nothing against Pittsburgh. Matt Stafford had his way with the Rams, and our defensive line handled Daniel Jones. I do feel like we still have unquestioned answers at facing mobile quarterbacks, being able to get out and force us to do things that we need to do on the defensive line. I haven't seen us necessarily tired. The offenses have shown that they can stay on the field with us. The first drive, the first game of the season, Pittsburgh went 95 yards on us. Now, albeit there were some calls in there that we helped them along the way. But again, the Rams sustained long drives against us early on. It was hard for us to get them off the field until once we started changing up what we did in the secondary. But when we were playing off, they were getting at us. They really were. It was hard to stop them. So and I feel like the main point you're trying to make, Jesse, is that these are teams with units, right? Where one guy happened to emerge, right? Not even necessarily Pittsburgh. But really what you're trying to get at is what happens when we do see an A.J. Brown or a CeeDee Lamb, right? What happens when we do see that number one guy where it's like, well, he's our guy. It's on Travarius Ward to stop him, right? And we don't, I still don't even understand. I still don't know if we travel corners yet. I haven't seen it on film. But if we don't, then really what we're going to be seeing is Travarius Ward on his side, but every number one receiver is probably going to be in the slot or on Demo, right? Because that's just the way they're going to match it up if we don't travel. So I am concerned about a couple of elements on our defense, but especially being tested by a true number one receiver is something that we need to see. And it's the league. It's not we want to see it because we want to see the defense fail. We want to see it because that's what the league is, right?
Yeah.
The league is about matchups. It is a matchup league. It's about who do you have to put on your worst guy, our best guy on your worst guy, or good on good. You guys are good enough where our guy is going to beat your guy. So really, that is kind of like the bedrock of the matchup element of the NFL, which is the pass game. The matchups in the pass game, which it makes teams very unique and hard to beat. I mean, case in point, what do we do with Christian? We don't just use him in the backfield, the pass game, right? So I agree with you, Jesse. It is something that we do need to pay attention to, and we have not yet seen in kind of like a full quarter to quarter. They know they're facing this type of game. We know they're facing this type of game. Let's see how they do. We have not seen that type of scenario yet.
Yeah, and the mobile quarterback thing, Danny Dimes definitely can get mobile. I mean, this is a guy that can rush for 700 yards. But when I say mobile quarterback, and this is where I agree with you, I want to see an elite mobile quarterback. I'm talking about a quarterback that can do both. A Lamar Jackson, a Josh Allen, a Jalen Hurts, guys that are good throwers of the football and have weapons around them also while containing them. When they went against the Giants and Daniel Jones, it was like, okay, Saquon Barkley's out. There's no receivers here that scare us. There's no threat there. The offensive line's banged up. Really, all we got to make sure is that we keep this dude in the pocket. Like, that's the one concern we have. That would be like, let me take all the great weapons away from the 49ers and just focus on George Kittle.
Right.
Okay, yeah, we can do that. But can you focus on George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey and Debo and Ayuk? You play a team like the Eagles. Can you focus on their two elite receivers? Can you get home with that elite offensive line while also keeping containment on an elite quarterback?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they can.
I'm so glad you brought that up because that's the feeling that you get. Now, I feel like everybody is leaning over me right now, about to swing on me because we are 3-0, guys. We're 3-0.
For sure. No,
We're 3-0. But
yes.
don't you kind of get a feeling that the 3 games that we face is just we're facing incomplete teams. We're not really facing a team that can give us their best shot, right? And albeit that's the league, right? Nobody told them to draft their guys and pay for their guys the way they wanted to, right? We're all right. Our situation, we shouldn't be apologizing to anybody for being a good team, is what I'm trying to say. But if you're just looking at for what we're trying to do, which is win a Super Bowl, the 3 games is nice. We're undefeated. I like the fact that we're handling business and we're developing a narrative of an identity, rather, of what type of team we need to be. But we ain't really faced nobody. We haven't really faced a real team that is bringing everything they got. Even the Rams, like the Rams are not going to be the same team that they are in week 17 when we see them again. They're going to be much better. I mean, albeit injuries and the way the league works, but they're going to be much better because you can even see them a little bit disjointed in just identity and process, right? Like running 40 times and not scoring. Like, like they're trying to put forth who they are, but they're not really there yet. And I do believe that Dallas may be one of those teams, and this is a good problem to have, is that really, now that I'm saying it, most of the teams that we're going to face aren't going to be complete teams. We are one of the best.
Yes.
Most of the teams that we face are
the
not.
49ers are one of the most complete teams. It goes both ways now.
Exactly.
How do they deal with the 49ers? Right? Like, it's not like we just have to deal with the problems they bring. They have to also deal with the problems the 49ers bring. This does go both ways now.
Okay, it does go both ways, Jess. But then you have to ask yourself, who is us? Who are the Niners? Right? Like Philly, maybe, but they're young as hell. Right? Mm-hmm. They're young. Right? We're not the Chiefs just from the quarterback element, right? And our defense is way better than theirs, right? Mm-hmm. We're not the Bengals. Thank God we're not the Bengals. But we're not the Bengals. We're not the Bills. Way better defense, stronger running game. Okay, we don't run everything through our quarterback. Okay, I just named 4 of the teams that legit can give us run, right? But outside of those teams, every other team you can clearly point to a massive deficiency that they have on their team. Mm-hmm. For us, and this is another thing that I sometimes, like when I run into Niners fans, like, and I talk to people about the team, like our commentary of the team does seem like we're nitpicking because the team is so goddamn good. So yes, we are going to have to look at literally the right side of the offensive line, right? If you put them all together, people who talk about the Niners who don't know us, they'll kind of like whole swath just say, oh, they got a great offensive line. We know that's not true because we're looking at the minuscule elements that comprise of the offensive line. But that's what you do to a team that is as good as ours. You have to really open up the microscope, and it does come off like it's a little bit ticky-tack sometimes, but that's what you got to do. Like, we're that good. We just can't completely laud them and say, oh, well, we're not really going to say anything about the team until the NFC Championship game. It's like, who wants to do that, right? So it's different because I feel like if in a way, we're kind of bringing up the fact that the Niners may not see anybody that's on their level for maybe 2 or 3 times in the season. And maybe those are the games where we have to pay attention, where we have to say, all right, Dallas, right? All right, Miami, like, you know what I mean? All right, the Chiefs, because these other games you guys should fucking win. This team isn't complete. The coaching isn't nearly as good as our coaching. They don't have it on all facets of the game, but we are one of those teams where it's kind of like, in a sense, like we're like the Lakers. It's like nobody cares about the Monday to Wednesday game, but the Christmas game, you better win. Right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, nobody cares about the ancillary October game, blah, blah, blah. But the New Year's game, you better win. If we're trying to get seeding into the playoffs, you need to win these games, right? So I do feel like that's where the Niners kind of fall, right?
It's all about expectation and where things are at. I spent this whole week, by the way, mean, probably going way too far the other way where I'm like, listen, it feels like a special season. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like this might be the year. And people are like, whoa, I mean, come on. We're only
Calm
3-0.
down.
Calm down, Jesse. And so then that
Bro.
really made me think, I'm like, okay, maybe I'm being a homer. What
Yeah.
questions are still unanswered? Now, again, these aren't questions that I'm saying, okay, the answer is unequivocally, we're not going to do good when this happens, or we can't defend this, or, when this problem arises, they're not going to have an answer for it. It's just,
Right.
I don't know definitively because we haven't seen it yet. And this is kind of what you have got to do, because this is future casting. This is forecasting. They are going to, in a lot of these scenarios, at least, see it on the field. They're going to run up against it. And it will be a talking point then, because when you play the best of the best in the Final Four, when you get to an NFC championship or what have you, from there forward, I mean, you're playing the elite of the elite. You're going to at least hope that you've got answers to a lot of the questions that the other team is going to pose. And you don't find out on that Sunday and like, oh, well, we couldn't handle it. I thought we could, I thought beating the Rams in week 2 was enough. No, it wasn't, so that's kind of where we're at with it.
Also, and do you know what I think is also kind of special about our unit is that the issues that we have are only issues because we haven't seen them, or they haven't been repped out enough, right?
Yeah.
So none of us are saying that Colton McKivitz and I keep harping on that. I really don't want this to be a thing where like I just care about the right side of the line, but just like it's not like we're saying Drake Jackson rather, or Colton McKivitz or Spencer Burford. They're weaknesses on our team for a couple of different reasons. Number one, it's not because they're bad. Okay, it's not because they're bad players, but one of them is because everybody around them is a very good player, right? So their deficiency or their progression or their maturation process, it sticks out a little bit more on a team full of veterans and really upper echelon elite guys, right? So you look different when you're playing next to Trent Williams, right? Versus playing next to another 6th-round guy, right? So that we do get caught up in positions where we're harping on a guy, we're harping on things that we would necessarily deem as weaknesses, but really they're gonna get better with time. Spencer Burford had by far his best game as a pro against the Giants. That film is so, I've watched that film like 3-4 times, man. He had such a good day on the ground. And Colton McKivitz is getting better. And Drake Jackson, yes, even though Drake Jackson isn't necessarily getting sacks on his own, but he is where he needs to be when he needs to be there. He's playing with a lot of passion, a lot of pressure. Also, these guys are getting time on task because it's what they need to do to play. I mean, how many times have we been talking about the fact that once we get these guys on the field, they need to play as much as possible, right? Yeah. And I'm seeing that. So I guess the beautiful thing about our weaknesses as a team is that they're only deficiencies because the guys aren't ready yet. It's not because they are legit bad, right? Like Tom Compton was a deficiency. You know why he was a deficiency? Because he was a vet. He was old enough, he wasn't getting better, and we had to put him in that spot, and there was nothing we could do about it, right? We don't have a lot of players on a lot of positions on our team like that, where we just have to play a guy even though we know he's not good, right? So my thing is that for us, most teams, their deficiencies, they got to live with them. Their weaknesses are legit weaknesses, and God forbid if the weakness gets hurt, and then it's even more of a weakness, right? But in my opinion, some of the things that we're worried about have the potential to get better. They have the potential to actually become a strength, right?
Agreed.
We don't know what Spencer Burford and Colton McKivitz are going to look like in week 10. We don't know, right? We don't know what Drake Jackson's going to look like in week 12, right? They could, the coaching that they're getting is, I'm hoping that they do better. They're going to be better. Right. So, and even then will be that's why starting early is so important, Jess. That's why starting early, because you get to the business of what we need to do. But if we take so much time trying to find our groove, then what we're doing is just basically we're behind the 8 ball the entire season. We're behind the 8 ball because now we started slow. We're trying to get back on top. We don't got time to get guys better. We just got time to win. That's it. So I like where we are right now. It's almost like starting a season fast in a way is like an extension of training camp. Like training camp never really ends. It just kind of goes into the season. Now that we're in week 4, now it's more of a, okay, well, the season's here. Like in a way, they're ready for Dallas now. You know what I'm saying? Because they have their identity.
Yeah. I've got 2 other ones here. And so the first 2, we're definitely going to find out. They are going to play an elite receiver. They are going to play an elite mobile quarterback. We're going to get those answers. These next 2, we may not get the answers to this, and that's fine because that just means that the 49ers are really this good. But the next 2 questions I have, I'll give the next one here. Can they win if the run game is not clicking? Can they win if Christian McCaffrey's not breaking off a big run every game? Can they win if they're not getting 100+ yards in a game? What if a team bottles them up and they get 65 yards rushing? Can they win that game? Now, like I said, we may not find that one out. There might not be a team that can contain the run game with all the weapons around it, and we may not know the answer to this question. It may be an ancillary question, but it is still a question. It's something we haven't seen from this team in a long time is if the run game's not going, what does the offense look like? Muted, I think. No, you're good.
I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here. I'm just, man.
Yeah, okay. All right.
It's bad, bro. If the run game don't work, Jess, it wouldn't even be fair to assess Brock if the run game doesn't work. It wouldn't even be fair. It wouldn't be fair. What we do is so predicated on the run. Like, all right, so I'll say this, and good on him. This is not a shot at Kyle, but it's kind of funny how like we inch along the way, right? At first, it was, we don't need a big-time receiver. Anybody in this offense. We don't need a big-time running back. Anybody can get plugged into this offense, and we'll just run it off. All we need is Kyle and his plays.
Yeah.
Then it went from, well, Kyle needs his guy at quarterback, and if Kyle can get his guy at quarterback, then we'll find the offense will finally move. The other players, we'll get them together. Then it went to, we got a core, and we got to keep the core together. And if we always just keep the core, it doesn't matter who we put in at quarterback because the quarterback, this is the most quarterback-friendly league in the league. This is the most quarterback-friendly offense in the league. We don't need anybody. And we just need the quarterback to just get the ball out to the guys we have. Now it's Christian McCaffrey is head and shoulders the reason why this offense goes. We don't plug any type of running backs into our offense. Right now, the reason why our offense is a high-powered offense is because we have a $17 million a year running back at the top of it. That's the truth, okay? No more of this ingenuity, like we've got the most gee whiz, leave it to Beaver, awesome system, and can anybody stop it? No. This offense is ran with very, very good players, okay, who could do multiple things on the field at any given moment, and that gives Kyle a myriad of advantages. That's why I thought that it was quite rich for him to see something that the Miami Dolphins were doing and saying that it was cheating. It's just like, dude, you're an offensive genius, and you got Christian McCaffrey at running back. You're cheating. You're cheating. Like, what are you talking about? Like, make that make sense. So for me, I see Christian McCaffrey. I make sure that I always try to bring him up, especially when we talk about the offense, that he really is that important, man. Like it's not even what he does once the ball is in his hands, but the orbit around him. How he draws attention. He commands respect wherever they put him on the field. And it allows Brock to get open receivers. Like, there are things that Kyle does with CMC, with Christian, to get Brock open looks on the other side of the field. You can't do that with a lot. respectfully, you can't do that with Elijah Mitchell. You cannot do that with JP Mason, right? There's literally nobody else. And the thing about also is that look at what Debo did in our offense, where we just kind of caught the league off storm with that wrinkle, right? And how advantageous it was. We basically have Debo and a running back, right? With ball skills. Like, that's a ridiculous cheat code. If we were to lose Christian McCaffrey, the entire complexity of the season changes, right? The defense is on the field longer. All right. We're not scoring 30 yards. We're not scoring 30 points a clip. Brock has got to get the ball out much faster. Brandon Ayuk. How many longer passes and longer routes is Brandon Ayuk going to be able to get off if they don't respect the run game? Right? If teams start playing us and they're like, man, we don't need 7 in the box. We could keep 6 in the box and play back 5. We don't have to respect this run game. Right?
Yeah.
So Christian plays a numbers game on the field where we can, and then also schematically, like the way we can make 21 look the same. We can come out of 12 and 21 and it can look the same because of Christian. And we can get the defense out and down as fast as possible and then still be able to run shifts and motions and whatever we need to do off of it. Christian McCaffrey is a huge get, especially for an offensive mind like Kyle. It is a ridiculous get. So yes, if we lose Christian as far as, and I know that don't think that I missed out. The original question was if the run game goes down, and I completely shifted to Christian. I know what I did.
For sure.
But the only reason why I'm doing that, Jesse, is because I believe that Christian is the run game.
That's fair.
I believe that he is the run game. So yeah, I think that it would definitely change if he was done. It changed.
And like I said, hopefully we don't have to find out the answer to the question. And as long as Christian is here, I guess that is the answer. As long as Christian's here, we're probably not going to find out the answer to that question. If Christian misses a few games, we are going to find out the answer to that question very likely. Okay, last question that I have that is unanswered about this team is, can they be down on a final drive and go win this thing? Like, you need you're down 4, you need a touchdown. Can you go get it done? You don't got any timeouts. You got 2 minutes. You got 80 yards. Can you make it shake? Again, this team is so good. They may not be in this situation this year. Like, this, just because it's an unanswered question doesn't mean that we're going to get the answer this year. It's just a possibility that they are that good. But if it does arrive and we're in the playoffs or we're, in a tight game, can they make that move and come from behind and win a game on the final drive in a must-win, all the chips push to the middle of the table situation? What do you think?
Yes. And the reason why I'm so quick to say yes is because I think that that's going to be the beauty of what Kyle and Brock got going on.
Yeah.
Those moments are going to be when I'm hoping, because all of this time we've seen Kyle alienate his signal caller, i.e. Jimmy. It's just been Jimmy. It's not, I feel like sometimes if Kyle would sit back and listen to this, I think it would just be like, it was just Jimmy. Jesus Christ. They say I hate quarterbacks. It was just Jimmy. but even though Kyle wasn't necessarily, didn't have a good working relationship with Jimmy, I do feel like you have to think that if you do have a quarterback in Brock that you trust, that you believe is going to do what you need him to do on the field when it's time to make those plays, I think that they've already been setting this up. You have had to. You have had to start talking about these moments. Like, hey, what do you like on 3rd and long? What do you like in 4th and gotta have it? What do you like on 3rd and short, 4th quarter, right? Left side of the hash. What do you like near the field? What do you like to the boundary? I feel like one of the biggest attributes or lack of or deficiencies where Kyle took umbrage with Jimmy is I just don't think that he thought Jimmy was smart. Like, just a smart quarterback, right? Just, hey, this is where I want the ball. Not necessarily, I know this is the difference, right? We have significant others, right? What's the worst thing of all time? When they say they need something to eat. It's like, tell me what you want to eat. Tell me. Don't have me offer you 10 places to go and you say no to all of them. Tell me what you want, where you want to go.
Whatever you want's fine. Like, no, you're the one that's hungry, not me.
No. Give me a cuisine. Mexican? Chinese? Italian? I need to know. But in a way, that could be frustrating from Kyle's perspective of like, well, do you like this? Do you like that? Maybe put this on. Maybe let's put this in for you. Let's put that in for you. Well, you suck at this. You suck at that. The frustration could build, right? Versus a back and forth consultant conversation where it's like, hey, look, we're not having a question about expertise. I believe in your intellect. You definitely believe in my intellect. Let's have a real conversation. And I do believe that with Kyle, it is refreshing for him to be able to have a real conversation with his signal caller who he believes understands how to utilize the things that he wants in the field. And I think that those situations that you're talking about are those things that they should already be putting together, right? I love their back and forth on the sideline. Like I've seen a lot of different things from Kyle this year just by having Brock, right? Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, like, tell me what you think. But having just watching the bedside manner, just watching the games, Kyle seems more relaxed during games. He's definitely not more as frustrated as he usually gets during bad plays. Kyle is a lot more chatty to Brock on the sidelines. He's very quick to consult and talk to him. I've seen Kyle actually pull away from the game to go have a conversation with Brock while he's sitting down with Brian Greasy. They very much put their hands on him. That's their guy. You know what I'm saying? And it's a different feel when you see it on the sideline, Jess, where it's like the guy throws a pick, Kyle doesn't even look at the guy. The guy messes up on the play. He's sitting there going back and forth with Scangarello or going back and forth with Greasy, but Kyle won't even go back to even like peer into the conversation and say, all right, well, what'd you guys come up with? What did you think here? I don't see that type of back and forth between Kyle and Brock. Now, albeit we take what we can. They're like clips, right? We're reading the tea leaves.
Well, one of my favorite pastimes, Coach, was watching the All-22 in past years. And then as soon as something bad happens, rewatching it and zooming in on the sideline and seeing what Kyle's reaction was, where it's like, oh, are you kidding me, Jimmy? He's throwing his sheet down. He's throwing his
grabbing
headset,
his pillow,
he's
kicking his head in
kicking his You're not seeing any of that. You're not seeing any of it. So
you don't see that. And it's unbecoming of him, right? It's not what you want to see out of your coach, because really, when you're looking at your coach, you want to see like you're the anchor. You're the emotional rock, right? If you're tripping, everybody's tripping, right? So I will say, man, I think that they're ready to go. What's going on over there? What's up, man?
Well, listen, I got to get going, but we got some super chats, so let me rock through these real quick.
So let's do the super chat. Oh, we are.
First
This is 52 minutes.
First one's calling you out. It says, Coach Keith Murphy, member, 19 months. He says, you still got the Niners 9-8. Stop the cap. Stop the cap.
I'm not changing it because I gotta be true to this. I gotta be thorough with mine. I'm not changing it. I'm not. Even though I know that I hopefully I'm wrong, I will not change it because I want to stay consistent, right?
Yeah, he's gonna own it. He'll own it. He'll wear it. He'll wear it. Talking Head, it says we might need to pay attention this weekend. Laugh it off, but never underestimate an underdog playing hard. Niners should win, no doubt. But agree.
I like that.
I agree. But the nice thing is that Arizona already kind of had that come up story last week. They're not surprising the 49ers now. And you heard Kyle Shanahan talk, and I agree with him. Arizona easily could be 3-0 right now. They really could. So this is not your typical 1-2, almost 0-3 team, really.
They got a defense.
This team is playing very, very tough. They're actually a lot bigger and more physical than what you would think. It was kind of shocking seeing them. So, I think the 49ers are fully prepared. I expect that the 49ers win this game. I do think it could be much like the first couple of weeks where Arizona maybe hangs in the first half, but ultimately the Niners are just too talented and they're not going to be surprised. El Nano says, El Jesse and El Coach. Surprise stream indeed. Trust me, man. If we could make it happen on a weekly basis, we would. Like I said, we talk on the regular. But going into the season, we had already built our schedules separate of each other. And then this relationship's just kind of butted out of nowhere. And so I would expect this offseason. We'll make it a weekly thing, and then that'll roll into next year.
For sure.
That's the way
it's
you'll
gonna be
see
dope.
it.
Yeah, definitely.
And hopefully, I mean, I think you can tell when people get on camera and they start having conversation, whether it's natural or it's forced. I think hopefully it's coming through that it's very, very natural conversation here. So this is something that we definitely would
just
love
to be
to
my
do
guy
weekly.
for a minute. Yeah, I'm glad we can share this with everybody. Let everybody know like how close we are, really.
Yeah. Keith Murphy, the unbeaten, comes back and says it's like when his dad had Terrell Davis. Yeah, those other guys ran for 1,000, but it took somebody special to put Denver over the top. That's a very, very good point.
That
Keith.
is such a good
Yes.
point, Keith. That is such a good point.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the thing. Terrell, he gets the moniker of, and I hate that he gets thrown into like that little group of like
Landis Gary and
Alfred Morris and you know what I mean? Like it's like, Terrell Davis. Terrell Davis was a 6th-round pick. And it's like, well, Terrell Davis was a dog. He was a pure thoroughbred. Like, let's not do that. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, Terrell Davis is like, if Raheem Mostert could have stayed healthy, that's what that kind of could have been like in the Shanahan offense. Mostert was a different level, being a late round player the way he was, and
he's different.
Bouncing team to team, being a special teamer. But there's a special talent in Raheem Mostert. He just couldn't stay healthy.
And that's the thing about this scheme, man.
Mm-hmm.
We get these guys in, and it's like I feel like, you know how people love to show off a deal they got? Oh, look at this shirt. Pay $10 for it.
Yeah,
right? Like,
of course.
It's like, and I feel like we kind of do that with our team because we just want to show how frugal and efficient and economical we are. But it's just like, no, bro, no. Special players are still special. You get what you pay for, right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you can't buy something halfway. You got to just get it. If you want the Phantom, you can't get the 300. You got to go get the Phantom. It's a whole different ballgame. So that's the
I know
way
you're used to the
it.
dad sandals, but I got the new Nikes for $25 at Payless. You see my G? Like,
right? So I will say, like, those guys, the guys that were special in this offense were truly special players, no matter how they got there.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, we were here for an hour. It was great. We'll do it again, hopefully soon. We got to 2, maybe 3 of our 5 topics. Thank you all for contributing.
And we were worried about topics.
Oh, easy. We could go for another hour easy, but we got things to do. Listen, I'll be back. I know you. Okay, go to the coach's channel, subscribe over there. Bang, bang. Check it out. He is going to be doing some good scouting reports this weekend on the Arizona Cardinals. Must see. I know that he does a pregame and a postgame. I'll obviously be here for the postgame. So make sure you check it out. Stay tuned. Have a blessed weekend. And until I see you next, peace.